I want to thank you, each and every one of you here today, for giving me the privilege and the honour to be here with you for such a very important conference, workshop, getting together, mixing with the mob. And I really appreciate, Rebecca, where are you? Thank you for doing this, it was lovely. And I can't read with my glasses on, but I can read with them off. What's that? Is that what it says up there, darling? And I just met a whole group. You can tell I was born on a mission, with a whole. We always pronounce our H's. And met some wonderful people when I first walked through the door, those lovely girls who were doing the registrations, and that lovely guy that asked me if I was okay, and the others who went and got me a cup of tea. So, you know, what more can you ask for from a mob like all of yous? I was born and bred on 2 Aboriginal missions. One was in Cowra, New South Wales, called Arambi Mission. The other one, can you see me at the back? Okay. And the other one was on a little Aboriginal reserve not far from here, where I lived and grew up with my grandparents. And of course it was called Hollywood. Hollywood Mission. I grew up there and I played in the best playground you ever had. We lived directly dead opposite the cemetery. And that cemetery taught me how to be the person that I am today. Because I grew up in the school of Mount Carmel with the nuns, and then we had that school up on the mission on Hollywood. And it's myself and a few other girls that we used to play in that cemetery all the time. And from time to time, well, nearly all the time, there was funerals. So, and we always helped them out and made sure everything was right. We didn't even know these people because we would have been only about 7 or 8. But I can assure you the nuns got fresh flowers every week. We started the first recycling. They went from the graves out into the teacher's house. And so, you know, it was just lovely growing up. I was part of as I was growing up, my parents took me back to a Arambi Mission. And from there, the welfare had come, and because from moving from one place to another, they couldn't understand why this was being done. And mentally, it just wasn't a good place to be in them days when I was growing up. Because my parents couldn't understand, because my father, who came from this area here on the Murrumbidgee River, always made sure that we were in a position to always have the best that we possibly could have. And the best to us was, you know, making sure that our parents loved us, our grandparents and aunties and uncles, and our whole family always stayed together. But when I went back with my parents to live on Arambi Mission, I was taken away because we were run then as some of the people that I've just met today would have known about the Aboriginal Protection Board. And I was sent away to a home. And from that home, you know, then I believe now that it was what they call now the stolen generation. But I never let things bother me, because at the end of the day, I was there to do something always, to make sure that my brothers and sisters were happy and they were carefully looked after and all those things. Because I was under the protection of the Aboriginal Board, but also under a white manager and his wife, who they called a matron. And I don't think she ever looked at a cotton bud in her life. So this is my little story growing up. And my great-great-grandfather lived here and grew up here in these places here on the Murrumbidgee River, out of Thara on a little property out there called Cuppacumbalong, and from there out to Uriara. So, you know, every Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person has a production of how their lives were chronically, and always in tune with how the rest of the world of Australia, you know, seen us as people of country. And that's why it's a great honour to be here today, to be acknowledged by the people like yourselves, who the protocols that you were brought up with have never left you. Because it's so good to know that other people know what protocols are, know what welcomes are for. We're not here with a chip on our shoulders to do these things. We're here to maintain our dignity and to make sure the future, which is going to be with all our young folk, and always maintain the past to bring it here. The past you can get caught up in and you can forever be a victim. But I don't see no victims. I always see a person who has to be pretty good at spinning out a life for her or himself to maintain their own dignity, because their families too suffered as much. And always, you know, people here, like Yazari today, you've been looked after in my country because I respect you. And because of the protocols, what you have done to myself and my ancestors today, you have respected us as well. So, you know, what more could I ask for than to be greeted by such wonderful people who are here today, to share and do the things what all human beings want to do, and to be treated as just one. You know, reconciliation is this great big buzzword. But, you know, Aboriginal people have been doing this for quite a long time, because country is where you had to wait to be invited in. And I believe that there's quite a few wonderful people that are here today who still know and maintain, you know, the culture of where they come from. Because one girl rocked up to me not long ago, she said, "Can I play these tappers and sing a song?" I said, "As long as you don't chuck your clothes off and paint your breast, I don't care." You know, this is what we're like. This is what our country is like all through Australia and the Torres Strait, and I guess Tasmania. Anyone from Tasmania? See what I mean? You can't get away from Tasmania. I always say it when I do a welcome, anyone from Tasmania, and there's always someone. Somebody said to me, "But no, they got towed away." I said, "They can't be, they're sitting in front of me." So welcome to Tasmanians. Give them a clap, because no one, no. We are all one. And I was treated as such today when I came to this wonderful, wonderful place. It's the land of my ancestors. I'm a Ngambri woman. I have 4 children, 12 grandchildren, and 4 coming into 5 and 6 great-grandchildren. So, you know, I maintain that always we have to teach our children and the people who want to be treated and be taught proper way to talk to each other. And this was what this is all about today, isn't it, Rebecca? Yeah, she said. Yeah. So that's how our hearts should be, as one, always. Because there's no them and us, you know, or them and them, or whatever. We're not M&Ms, you know. We're all people. And to think that I'm here today standing with such wonderful, wonderful people who know and care for each other. So, you know, say hello to the person next to you, give them slap them on the back or whatever, and go on, do it. Do it, say hello. That's good. That is so good, because you know what? Tasmania, please be quiet. They are the best and rowdiest group, I'll tell you. But you know how I know that? When you go to Mass on Sundays, the priest always say, see the person next to you and say hello. It doesn't matter what religion you are or how you grew up, as long as you've got the spirits of your culture, you are fine. So Tasmania, I really appreciate you coming up to country today. I really am. And I hope to get down there one day. And what's that bird you eat? A mutton bird. Yeah, I'm going to have a feed of mutton bird with this lot later on. She's getting very impatient, this woman. She's back, yeah.
I honestly didn't ask Matilda to praise Tasmania.
I love Tassie because you know what? It makes the best, what's that cheese? King Island cheese and what else do you make down there? Tasmanian scallops. Tassie scallops.
It's an ad for Tasmania.
I know, but people think because they're so far down there, they're living with the Eskimos. But they are what's wonderful people. And I don't know how people manage to forget them at times. And I've been to places where they have. And yet we remember everybody else, even people who live up there in, what's that place up there, your mob? Tiwi Island mob, yeah. It's a beautiful place. So have a wonderful time. And you know, my family is a wonderful family. And we always appreciate those, and I'm happy to stand up here and speak on behalf of all the elders. And there are elders here too as well. So maintain, you know, you don't have, see, people tend to think that you have to be black to be an elder. You don't. See, this is the wrong thing that goes out. You're an elder when you can sit down and everybody brings you a cup of tea. And I've just seen myself up there. Is that me? Yeah. And I just wanted to say to you, 3 times, and for the very first time ever in Australian history, I was asked to do the Welcome to Parliament House in the federal government on the 42nd sitting. And I can assure you, it was just so solemn, so wonderful, because every part of this nation was there with me standing when I spoke of the wonderful things. You know, for the first time ever in Aboriginal history of Australia, that ever happened. So we did it the 2nd and the 3rd. But we must maintain our dignity and say to the government always, you know, we're one. And if you don't want to be recognised, you don't have to be. And if you want to be, you can. So you go out and you spread the word, what we want as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Because we must remember, the first man ever, it was like the first man who ever walked on the moon to me, the first Aboriginal man ever to be in charge of a federal government, which was the Department of Aboriginal Affairs, was Charlie Perkins. You know, and the history is that I know from time to time I'll sit down and talk to young people and they will learn to understand the dignity that we went through. In 1967 we were given the referendum And that wasn't to vote, it was only to be part of a census. In 1971, 72, I was there for the start of the first Aboriginal medical service ever to be open, that was in Redfern, and the other one was 1972 with the Tent Embassy. So, you know, we fought and walked the talk. And look at what's happening now. We have wonderful people all around us that are here today, wonderful people that are around us all here today. You're not taking advantage of that, you're showing your way of how culturally appropriate it is for you to follow in those footsteps of such wonderful people. So thank you very much for listening to me, because I welcome you with such great respect to this land of my ancestors. I'm a Ngambri woman of the Ngunnawal speaking of the Walgaloo. And I appreciate each and every one of you that are here today to share our respect with each other. So thank you very much.